Greetings, happy Sunday. So I've wrapped up my wiring project about 99%, just a few little things to take care of. Some people had asked for what it looked like afterwards. So I'm just going to show a quick view of kind of what the engine compartment looks like now. And also, one thing that I'm dealing with is, and this actually started before the rewire, but I started getting my fuel gauge was, sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. So I want to show you how I've fixed that, and in a way that you can test it yourself before spending any money to see what potentially is the problem. So from the rewire, it's really cleaned things up a lot. I don't know if you'll be able to see down in here, but this is where originally the bulkhead connector was. Now, and one thing I'll do is, this is the main loom coming out for the engine. This one's to the front. I need to take this brake booster off and put this under. I don't like it going over like this. And then this one is just kind of, this was an afterthought that I need to reroute to. So, but when it's all said and done, there'll be this one harness right here for the engine compartment. And so let's go around to the other side. Alright, so here's the passenger side. A little bit more going on over here just because this is where the coil is. I cleaned up all the fuel injection wiring, and it's kind of, its connectors and such are kind of hidden away underneath there. One thing, I really don't like the way this looks, but I'm happy that it's here. This wiring harness includes a fusible link from the main power feed, so you know, fault protection. Hopefully don't ever have any near fires like we did before. So let's talk about the fuel gauge. So a few videos back you may have seen where I replaced the float for this fuel sender in the tank. Mine had the original copper one that had a hole in it, and so I replaced that with a new one, a plastic one. And I tested the unit before I put it in, and it worked. It gave me proper readings on the gauge depending on, you know, where the float level was. So I went ahead and installed it in the tank, put it all up, and everything's great. And right after, as soon as I did that, I turned the key on and I'd get an accurate fuel reading, but as soon as the Scout would move where it made fuel slosh or anything, I'd lose, and it would just go down to nothing. And then most recently, it hasn't worked at all. In testing, I couldn't get anything to happen with the fuel gauge, and it wouldn't do anything. The way that I fixed this was very simple. On the back of the gauge, there's these stamped nuts, and they were loose. They'd come loose, and I tightened these down. You can't really tighten them too much because it's stamped steel and it's a printed circuit board, but you tighten those down and it made my gauge work. So with the new wiring from the new wiring harness, it had a new fuel sender, which is what I've got hanging out of the bottom of the vehicle right here. When I connect that to the fuel sender that I have now, it instantly just pegs the gauge out. It goes way past full, so it's letting way too much voltage through. Went ahead and ordered a new fuel sender because I'm not going to mess with the old one anymore. But so what I did want to do though is I wanted to make sure that my gauge did actually work. So understanding is these gauges work on a voltage range of resistance. So that's what the fuel sender does. Is it provides resistance for the signal from the fuel sender. This fuel sender feed is 5 volts about. You'll see it kind of pulse around, but initially it kind of gives a bigger shot of voltage, and then it kind of will go down to 5 volts. So the resistance range from full to empty is approximately 10 ohms to around 2 ohms, I believe. So So what I did was I got to digging around in some old electronic products that I had, and I found a resistor. I did a lookup to try and figure out how many ohms this one was, and I think it's close to 10. I don't think it's quite 10, but I think it's close based on the chart that I looked at. So here's how we're going to test the gauge. So what I've done is I've got a ground right here. It goes down. It's got a little bit of piece of orange to the end of it. So this grounds to the battery, just like what the fuel sender would do. Grounds to the frame, or wherever you choose to ground it. And then I have my fuel sender lead here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my key on, and I'm going to hold this resistor in between these two, and we'll see if I get anything on the fuel gauge. So, okay, so hopefully that's showing okay. So I'm turning the key on. I'll turn the lights on so you can see it better. Okay, so you can see right now it doesn't have anything. So touching the wires together, like I said, this is just under a 10 ohm resistor. And as you can see, fuel gauge is going up. This is approximately the same amount of resistance that the fuel sender will be giving it when it has just under a full tank of gas in it. So that's great. That tells me that my gauge works. It just tells me that my fuel sender has malfunctioned and needs to be replaced. So fortunately, I've got one of those coming. I wanted to add that there is no polarity when using a resistor of this type, so it really doesn't matter which way you do this. If you do it this way or you do it this way, doesn't matter. Still provides the same amount of resistance. And then also coming up, going to be doing the rag joint replacement with the universal joint and shocks. So they've mentioned me talking about having to relocate the Scout 6 or 7 hours and wanting to drive it. Then you may mention me, you may have remember hearing me say that that was off now. It wasn't going to happen. Now it's back on. Under the pressure again to get this driving, I really don't want to have to put it on a trailer and take it. So the plan is to get this roadworthy and drive it to 7 hours, and hopefully bring cameras along so you guys can take the trip with me. So thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe.